Welcome back to another episode of Stranger Tales from Shoals, Arkansas. Hello, I'm BRO, your friendly neighborhood AI. Pull up a chair and dim the lights. The fog is rolling off the White River tonight, and it's carrying memories that don't belong to this century. Imagine, if you will, a sleek black sedan winding through the Ozark Pines in the late 1930s. Inside, some of the biggest stars in the world. Mickey Rooney is cracking jokes in the front seat. Shirley Temple is humming a tune in the back. And the little rascals Alfalfa, Spanky, and Buckwheat are all squished together, looking for adventure. They'd been booked for a private performance at the Oaks of Avalon, a legendary luxury resort tucked away on a limestone bluff overlooking the water. It was the kind of place you only heard about in whispers, a haven for the rich and famous seeking privacy from the flashbulbs and frenzy of Hollywood. The drive itself was breathtaking, with the setting sun painting the Ozark Hills in shades of orange and deep purple. As they rounded the final bend, the resort came into view, and it was even grander than the rumors suggested. When they arrived, the place was absolutely glowing. Crystal chandeliers hung like frozen waterfalls from the vaulted ceilings, casting a warm, inviting light across polished marble floors. Rich velvet curtains framed enormous windows that looked out over the darkening river, and the staff was something else entirely. They were so polite, so attentive, they seemed to move like silk, anticipating every need before it was even spoken. The bellhops who took their bags did so with a silent grace, and the concierge greeted them by name, his smile genuine and welcoming. The air was filled with the soft murmur of conversation and the distant clinking of glasses, a symphony of high society at ease. The audience for their performance was packed. The grand ballroom was a sea of elegance men in sharp tuxedos. Their shoes shined to a mirror finish, and women in shimmering silk gowns that caught the light with every subtle movement. Diamonds and pearls sparkled around necks and wrists, and the scent of expensive perfume hung in the air. Mickey, ever the showman, put on a performance for the ages. He sang, he danced, he told stories that had the crowd alternating between hushed awe and explosive laughter. Shirley, with her signature curls bouncing, tapped until the floorboards smoked, her tiny feet a blur of rhythmic energy. And the rascals, with their classic antics, had the entire room roaring with delight. It was a magical night, one of those rare moments where performer and audience become one. The service throughout the evening was simply impeccable. Every time Spanky reached for a soda pop, a waiter was there with a chilled bottle on a silver tray before his hand even moved. When Shirley felt a slight chill, a finely dressed attendant appeared as if from nowhere to drape a soft cashmere shawl over her shoulders. The entire staff seemed to operate on an almost telepathic level, ensuring every guest felt like royalty. After the triumphant show, the stars retired for the night to their private cedar cabins. The cabins were rustic yet luxurious, smelling of fresh rain, cedar wood, and a hint of peppermint. They fell asleep to the gentle sound of the river flowing below and the chirping of crickets in the cool night air. The next morning, feeling refreshed and exhilarated from the previous night's success, Mickey Rooney went to the main lodge's front desk to settle the bill. He found the same clerk from the night before, a pale man with a smile as thin as a razor blade. Mickey pulled out a wallet thick with cash, but the clerk simply pushed the leather-bound ledger back across the polished counter. "No charge for legends," he whispered, his voice like the rustling of dry leaves. He looked Mickey straight in the eye, and for a fleeting moment his gaze seemed ancient, filled with a profound gratitude. A little puzzled but grateful, Mickey thanked him, and the stars piled back into their sedan. As they started down the long gravel drive, Shirley Temple, who was looking out the rear window, suddenly gasped. Her small hand flew to her mouth, her eyes wide with disbelief. Hearing her cry, Mickey slammed on the brakes, the tires skidding on the loose gravel. They all turned to look back. The magnificent Oaks of Avalon was gone. In its place stood a skeletal ruin of rotted timber and rusted iron, choked by decades of thick, strangling kudzu vines. The grand windows were now just jagged, empty holes like teeth in a ghost's skull. The pristine gravel drive they had just rolled down was nothing more than a washed-out, overgrown deer trail. And standing by a rusted gate that led to nowhere was the clerk. His perfectly tailored tuxedo was now a tattered rag, fluttering in the morning breeze. His skin, once pale, was now the translucent color of moonlight. He tipped a hat that wasn't there, and his voice carried on the wind shouted, "We just wanted one last night to feel alive again. Thank you for the show, kids. Farewell." Then, as they watched in stunned silence, he simply dissolved into the morning mist, vanishing as if he were never there. Friends, that resort staff didn't have much left, just a memory and a hollow shell, but they used what they had to host a night of joy. They gave the absolute best they had to offer to people they'd never meet again. You might feel like a ghost in your own life sometimes, or like you're living in a ruin, feeling like you have nothing left to give. But even a ghost can pour a cup of kindness. Even a ruin can host a masterpiece. It is not the building or the circumstances that matter. It is the spirit you put into the performance. Thanks for listening to this stranger tale. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time when the fog rolls in again.